It is arguably one of the most beautiful and livable places on this earth, blessed with an ideal climate and its own natural cooling system, with people of every stripe and every culture, with fertile soil and fertile minds. This is the San Francisco Bay Area, a 7,000 square mile region made up of 9 counties and 101 cities and towns, all bound together by a defining feature: the Great San Francisco Bay.
The Bay is what makes this a region. It's not just physical, but it's political, and it's, I think, in our bones, in our DNA. It's the thing that attracts us. The region, after all, is the 9 counties that touch on the Bay.
Our bay plays a critical role in our identity. It's an incredible natural resource. We are working very hard to create a bay trail as well as a ridge trail so that other people coming from wherever they come from in the world can enjoy the beauty that we experience here every day.
San Francisco Bay, not just a symbol of how important the environment and open space are to the people who live here, but also a touchstone that binds the area together. The unparalleled setting has also inspired engineers and planners to create man-made icons that enhance what was already present. While the Bay Area's natural features are abundant, preserving them for future generations didn't necessarily come naturally. It took the concerted efforts of a group of civic-minded and far-sighted people to make the Bay region what it is today. At the forefront of this sustainability movement are the Association of Bay Area Governments and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. ABAG was founded in 1961 to coordinate regional activities for local and city governments and to strengthen ties in the Bay Area.
A good many people felt that a more comprehensive regional agency was overdue, and that perhaps it should be dealing with air quality, transportation, land use, water quality, and so forth, in an overall comprehensive fashion. And attempts were made, principally led by Assemblyman Jack Knox of Richmond, to do that, and with the help of a good many other well-known legislators like Willie Brown.
Everybody was concerned about the Bay. The Bay was being filled in, much had already been filled in, more was going to be filled in, and certainly that was common to every jurisdiction, and we needed to preserve the Bay.
At the time, 50 years ago, a little more than 3.5 million people lived in the Bay Area. Gasoline cost 27 cents a gallon, and the average new home cost $12,500. President John F. Kennedy had just taken office, and Americans were optimistic about the future. Even so, the Bay Area's urban footprint was growing rapidly, and visionaries could see the challenges that would soon face the region.
Well, of course, there's always growth. The real concern that the Bay was being filled in by development and so forth, and a lot of the Bay had disappeared into salt ponds and so on. Transportation was the problem. Highways were still small, but there weren't all that many people. But you could see what was happening, what was going to be coming.
The Claremont Hotel in the East Bay Hills served as ABAG's first home. From modest offices, big, bold regional plans emerged to protect open space and the ocean coastline. The idea to protect the beaches and provide access for everyone came from ABAG and evolved into the California Coastal Commission. ABAG planners drew up a regional master plan that called for 1.8 million acres of open space, a remarkable 1/3 of the Bay Area. In the midst of this, a regional transit system had also begun to take hold. BART took a leap from promise to reality in 1962, when Bay Area voters approved funding and construction could finally begin. In the 1960s, the Bay Area, like much of the state, was crisscrossed with newly built freeways and highways. But the idea of transportation planning was still in its infancy. State Senator John Ferran introduced legislation that resulted in the formation of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission in 1971. Its purpose, to create a regional plan that would consider all aspects of transportation.
You have to remember that when I created this, transportation policy in California was totally, for all practical purposes, freeway and highway oriented.
In the beginning, it appeared that the two sister agencies, born a decade apart, had separate missions. ABAG to provide regional land use and housing planning, and MTC to be the planner and banker for transportation. Their end goals, though, would be the same: to use a regional approach to improve the quality of life in the Bay Area equitably for all Bay Area residents. MTC's offices join those of ABAG's at the Claremont Hotel.
So many of our transportation problems really don't have a lot to do with roads and bridges and transit systems. They have to do with the fact that people aren't living close enough to where they want to work and where they want to do other activities. And so right away, you bump your head into the land use question.
Together, the two agencies have shaped the Bay Area and improved the quality of life for the past half-century. ABAG's groundbreaking 20-year regional master plan in 1970 was the Bay Area's first comprehensive plan. It addressed the preservation of open space, regional information systems and technology support, criminal justice, water policy, and waste collection and earthquake safety planning. ABAG's original Regional Airport System Plan has evolved into the Regional Airport Planning Committee that includes MTC and works to analyze the environmental and land use impacts of San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose international airports.
We have to work together from a regional perspective in order to share the dwindling resources, both economically and in terms of natural resources, and in order to get people around in a way that is efficient and gives them quality of life.
Some of the open space conservation that's been going on and will go on in the future really becomes, has been and will continue to be a joint effort that everyone can be proud of. The Bay Trail is probably one of the greatest accomplishments of ABAG over the last 5 decades.
The construction of the Joseph Bort Metro Center, built to house ABAG, MTC, and BART in 1984, was a major accomplishment. The new facility was a vast improvement over the crowded facilities at the Claremont Hotel. The Metro Center provided new opportunities for collaboration between ABAG and MTC.
Over the past 6 to 8 years, I think there's been a stronger attempt at merging their missions, seeing where they can collaborate and cooperate in vast areas of regions, not only around the area from a geographic standpoint, but from a thematic standpoint of trying to marry the idea of having transportation needs matching housing as well as employment areas.
Both agencies can take a great deal of credit for the rapid increase in affordable housing here in the Bay Area. ABAG and MTC had to work very closely on that, and I think it's a great accomplishment. I think it's really understated when you look at the numbers, what's been going on here.
Making travel seamless has also been at the top of the regional agenda.
You know, at MTC, we rolled out the Clipper card. I think it's been a success.
If the Clipper card has eased commuting for Bay Area public transit users, Fast Track has done the same for over 800,000 drivers who cross the region's bridges each weekday. MTC's 511 system is a one-stop phone and web source for real-time transportation information. There's also the introduction of hot lanes, or high-occupancy toll lanes, which give solo drivers the opportunity to pay tolls to travel in carpool lanes. The BART extension to SFO, and the creation of the Bay Area Toll Authority to help maintain the region's bridges and to build replacements. Now, ABAG and MTC are joining forces to develop the Sustainable Communities Strategy, which will plan for a Bay Area with 2 million more residents, with close access to jobs, shopping, and recreation, while preserving the open space that makes our region unique. ABAG's designation of priority development areas and priority conservation areas is a key part of the Sustainable Communities Strategy.
It's through that land use planning, developing in transportation corridors, maximizing the transportation investment. It's that awareness that I think is where we're really having our success. There's very few that aren't incorporating some of the transportation for livable community strategies that we developed over the years. The Sustainable Community Strategy I think has really heightened the awareness to the cities and counties as to we have to do a better job planning. There's a much stronger connection between land use and transportation, and we have to maximize that investment.
In recent years, as new regional challenges emerged, such as climate change, it became more important to expand the partnership. Hence the formation of the Joint Policy Committee, comprised of MTC, ABAG, the Air District, and the Bay Conservation and Development Commission. The 4 regional agencies have also launched One Bay Area to address challenges too big for any one entity.
The expression itself, One Bay Area, gives voice to the fact of air quality, of transportation, of housing, of sanitation, of recreation, even of education, in terms of what it means to live in the Bay Area. We all have an obligation to one another to live the best kind of life in terms of comforts, comfort of clean air, the comfort of rapid transportation, the comfort of health and safety arising from a common investment. So that is the future.
In a state that's now rapidly approaching 40 million people, you can't really govern it the way we've governed it in the 50s. You have to diffuse it, and I think a lot of that has to go to the region. And in the Bay Area, it will go to the region.
This is a very exciting time for the region. It's a very exciting time for MTC. It's a very exciting time for ABAG. I think being able to show, not just symbolically, but actually show on the ground how we're working together to improve this area is something that is going to be really good and worth celebrating. I didn't mention the sustainable community strategy, and that's where you're really going to see it. Where these things are pulled together, the land use and transportation, and particularly the housing.
I think it's fantastic that 50 years ago that we had elected officials who had the foresight to recognize that they were better off working together than working independently. And as a result of that, here we are 50 years later, having done a lot of great services.
We don't do this stuff alone. And I think that probably what any politician could say that sits in this chair is we've been blessed with good staff, and we've been blessed with good staff work. And quite frankly, I believe the staff at ABAG and MTC clearly have made us politicians look good.
I would like to thank those people at ABAG and at MTC that came before me, that really did the heavy lifting. I can't imagine what it would have been like to start this organization, either ABAG or MTC. And I really like to thank them, the elected leaders and the appointed leaders at that time.
Well, we've been here 50 years and the Bay Area has grown. It's protected its open space, it built BART, it saved the Bay, it's done an awful lot of really great things. So the next 50 years, we have to protect ourselves from hazards like earthquakes and sea level rise. We have to spur the innovation of our industries. We have to grow our education system so that everyone has access to really good school programs. We need to create secure environments in our urban centers and really high quality urban lifestyles.
As one decade slips away and another begins its infancy, the San Francisco Bay Area is at a crossroads. On the occasion of ABAG's golden 50th anniversary and MTC's 40th, there is still much work to do. Growth and development issues, global warming, congestion problems, and scarcity of fiscal and natural resources loom ahead of us. The stewardship and good intentions of both agencies have brought us a long way, but it will take the concerted efforts of all 9 counties and 101 cities and towns acting regionally to ensure the present quality of life for future generations to come.